Welcome to Housing for Good, a podcast dedicated to housing topics and issues affecting our communities in McPherson County and beyond. With years of experience and expertise, hosts Chris Goodson and Karolyn Moore discuss housing challenges and opportunities with other experts from a variety of housing fields.
Hello and welcome to Housing for Good. I'm Karolyn.
And I'm Chris.
Chris, what do we got for news today?
We have the housing conference, which is going to be September 26th.
Yep, coming up fast.
It's coming up really fast. We have some great speakers talking about opioid addiction, lead-based paint.
Check out our list on our Facebook page or McPhersonHousingCoalition.org. You can find all the information there. Yeah. And I just also want to say, we are almost ready to begin our 7th house build at Sutherland Estates.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting really, really close to that one going up. So
that's exciting.
That's very exciting watching that come together.
We've had lots of phone calls, people very interested in this project that we're doing. So I'm really excited about it. It's the first family permanent supportive housing project in the country, or in the state at least. I'm not sure about the country, but we are the first in the state. Just like the Oak Harbor Cottages was the first non-congregate family shelter in the country, and now this is the first one in the state. So I'm really excited to be able to break those barriers and really help our families.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, so do you know who we're talking to today, Chris?
I do.
Okay, so we're going to get real professional here. You ready?
Let's do it.
Today, we're talking with Superintendent Dr. Cody Rierson from the Moundridge School District. That's School District 423. And this is the part that I love about small towns, because when I see Dr. Cody Rierson in the grocery store, I just go, hey, Cody, how's it going?
I know. And he was just a little bit younger than my oldest son, like he was this little kid running around. So this is really fun for me, too.
Yes,
just to see how big and mature he is, and he's full of information. And we really are not here to make fun of you. Because
we're not. No.
We really do respect what you do, and and what we've seen you do in Moundridge has actually been pretty impressive.
Very proud to call him one of our kids. So today, Cody, we just really want to talk with you about education and housing stability, and what does this look like for our kids? Do you see a difference between kids that are stably housed and those that are not?
To easily answer the question, yes. There's no doubt about it. But I'm just going to reciprocate the nice welcome you two gave me, and I'm excited to be here. And you two, we've been working together off and on for a year now, or a little over a year, and it's hard to explain how much I've learned from you two, along with a lot of the city commissioners, just about a variety of housing challenges and gateways and different resources that I never, ever knew about as a teacher or a principal. And so just very thankful that I have had this opportunity to learn. It's just some of the things off the top of my head are about MIH grant or HUD housing, just all that stuff. I had no idea until I started really working with the McPherson Housing Coalition. So I'm happy to be here. But to easily answer your question, yes, there's a significant difference, and could go into great detail on that. But oftentimes, probably dependent on what environment I was in, because I started in McPherson as a teacher at Eisenhower Elementary School, and then went to Caldwell, Kansas, which is about a mile from Oklahoma, and they had a lot of generational poverty there. So I could have used a lot of this information that I've learned while I was principal there. But and then from there to come back to Lincoln Elementary School, which is right in the middle of town in McPherson. And just to see how the demographics had changed and the housing around Lincoln had changed, because those, as I was growing up in the 90s, those would have been considered middle class, and where now there's a lot of rentals. And there's still a lot of nice houses around there.
Right.
Because it's kind of a vast area. But, it just adds one more layer that us as educators have to keep in mind and deal with when we try to differentiate and educate the students. Yeah.
So I'm curious, and it kind of leads into this next question, but are there hidden costs for the schools when kids are struggling? What does that look like? I mean, I think the general public does not understand when our kids are struggling what really happens at the school district and how maybe it's different to educate a child who's not stably housed versus one who has two parents and, dad's working at a great place and mom stays at home or has a job, she's got some flexibility versus a mom who's working 3 jobs and they're being evicted and just all kinds of crazy stuff's going on.
Kids are home by themselves.
Yeah. So what are those hidden things that the general public really couldn't understand or see that you're facing?
I think oftentimes when I talk with families, I try to really focus in on collaboration because education, specifically public education, is going to be what families and schools make of it. And there's no way, at least at USD 423, or at Lincoln, when I was there, that we could be successful without student support. It just wasn't, or without parent support. It just was not going to happen because the kids, a lot of our students were struggling, and I don't just mean academically. They were struggling oftentimes, whether it was clothing, housing, mental health. If that is a non-collaborative or non-trust relationship, you've lost right away. So developing those relationships and, open communication, because we're not going to be able to fix it. If a kid needs clothes, we have funds to do that. We have grants. I just got done talking on the phone with Ed.D about McKinney-Vento. Those are certain funds that come in for our homeless students. And as long as I can provide information or resources or data on what that money goes to, I can utilize that. Now, as I had stated before, I didn't know that as a teacher, but I know that now as a principal and as superintendent.
Yeah.
But with that being said, just not being afraid to look for different resources. But I think that I had multiple donors when I was at Lincoln as a principal for 8 years, and that has just continued into Moundridge. And we have a lot of people that love our Wildcats at Moundridge, and they'll just call and say, hey, how much how much do they owe for their student lunch fees this semester?
Wow, that's amazing.
And so if, we'll give them the number and they'll say, I'd like to pay that off. Where I try to balance is I don't want to enable parents or families because we want to create hard workers. But it is amazing to have community support like that. That's just one example.
I don't think people realize, I never thought about that before, that I could call in and say, hey, I mean, that was something I would totally do is call, if I could call the school and say, hey, who's behind or what's going on in the school, and to call. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'll go a step further with relationships. I see it now with Hillary Hecox, Mrs. K at our elementary. They're our principals, but they have such good relationships with the parents and with the families and with the kids that oftentimes we'll get parents that call them and say, how can I help? And they may say, we need this, or we need this, or this family needs this. And they trust us enough that they just either give us the funds or trust that we point them in the right direction. That probably happened more as a principal when I was at Lincoln because I'm a little bit more removed, but it still happens as superintendent in Moundridge.
When my kids were little and they went to Roosevelt School here in McPherson, and I was a stay-at-home mom, I would see kids in the wintertime going to school in flip-flops. So I contacted the counselors and I said, can you tell me how many kids don't have a pair of tennis shoes today? And I don't care. I just need to know what size. And is it for a girl or a boy? And then you go get all these tennis shoes. And so there's all kinds of ways for people. If you're hearing this podcast and you're thinking, I never thought about that, please know that if you contact any principal, any teacher, they're going to let you know where the needs are and how you can help, whether it's simply buying a pair of tennis shoes or, like Cody said, paying off what students owe on their lunches. It's amazing.
Yeah, I had talked to you about the McKinney-Vento funds, and so I can give so many different stories and examples, but another resource that we utilized last year, so we had a family move in and they moved in with a relative. And according to McKinney-Vento and a lot of the statutes of the state, that's considered homeless if you live with a cousin, or it can be one of the, it can fall under a certain label.
Yes.
And so we're able to get certain funds for that. And I knew that. We did not have any at-risk spots, and we didn't have any special education openings at our pre-K. And so we could not fit this individual into our school without not paying. And so I reached out to ESDAC about the McKinney-Vento funds, and all they asked me to do was write a little paragraph about what I was going to use it for. And I believe it was January because they paid for the whole second semester, and it's only $75 a month.
Yeah.
But they just wrote a check right there, and that kid was able to attend our school for the whole second semester. And I could go on forever because you had talked about counselor. You would call the counselor. So I try to systematize everything, and that's really hard to do because every individual and every group and family is different. But some of the systemizing that we're doing at Moundridge would be the hiring of social workers and that focus on the social emotional support. And so we have our high school counselor, our social worker that's within the whole district, and then Jennifer Becker just transitioned over to our student support position, which is very similar to a counselor at the elementary. Maybe a little more behavior focused because we're seeing some behaviors right now. And Chris, that goes back to what you had asked about. What do you see? Well, I see extreme behaviors at times and the inability to regulate one's body. And so we have to teach students to do that. And I actually feel very confident when it comes to that because I had a lot of those students at Lincoln when I was there.
Yeah.
And we did. We taught behavior expectations. And not only did we teach that, we reinforced it. We tried to demonstrate it all the time, too, as adults.
That trauma for kids is so difficult.
Yeah.
And when they have that, trying to work through that and being able to educate them and stabilize, and like you said, body, how they're supposed to behave and that type of thing. It's very,
and
very
that's one
difficult.
reason for our programs. When the McPherson Housing Coalition started, we wrote our programs for our grant based upon the fact that you've got families with kids. The kids are experiencing a level of trauma that the adults are struggling with, and you've got little kids that are in the middle of that. We have to get them housed. We have to get them so they've got a roof over their head, and they can get out of this trauma brain, crisis thinking, so that the parents can then start making good decisions. And in turn, the kids start to level out. Kids
have always been our heart here. I mean, it really is. Our heart is trying to get to those kids, and what does that look like for their parents? But I don't know if you know this, but we have a homeless unit in Moundridge. Did you know that?
I do, a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, we have a homeless unit there. So, somebody can move into, it's Prairie Meadow. They can move in if we have the unit open for 6 months. They don't pay anything, rent or utilities, for 6 months, and then gradually then they have to pay their full rent. But it is a way for somebody to get back on their feet, especially somebody with kids who really needs to get that whole thing stabilized. We've had several guests on here talk about what it looks like for their kids when they've been stable and they can finally move forward, and they're like, wow, I get to live here. I get to live here for long term. So, the kids are really our heart. They're really, really our heart, and obviously they're yours too.
Yeah. No, I with every transition professionally from whether it was working in after school programs is when I started in education, and then helping in kindergarten, and then I went from there and taught obviously for multiple years, and then became a principal. So the hardest thing is probably that each position I become a little more removed, but I try to counteract that by being like highly involved as a superintendent, and so. As long as I can continue to do my job well enough, as superintendent, and still be hands-on with the kids, because that's what I enjoy more than anything. Don't get me wrong, I like working with adults, but I love working with children. Yeah. Being in Moundridge allows me to do that. It's we've got 500 students, pre-K through 12, or right at.
And that's growing?
Yeah, we've gone up 100 students since I've been there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, but it's been a while. This is my 4th year.
That's a lot.
Yeah, when I started, we were at 403, and at the end of last year, we were at 497.
Okay.
And so we are right at the 500 boundary there. So
that's amazing. You've put in, now you donated some land for a daycare on your property?
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah, well, we're still working on it. It hasn't formally gone through because we wanted we want to move nice and slow, but
Okay.
we have some, it's about an acre and a half to the south of the elementary school.
Okay.
And how that happened was we have an extra minibus that we don't donate, we still own it, but they use it, and we fill it with gas for them so they can transport kids back and forth, because we're only a half-day pre-K at our school. And as they started looking at the needs within the town when they did the strategic planning, two of the biggest things at the time were childcare and housing, and affordable housing
Yes.
is very
Yeah.
important too. And a lot of housing has gone up, but I think affordable housing is still on there, is a definite need in Moundridge. But with that being said, we looked at a lot of different options. They looked at maybe Greer being a place kind of in the center there. But ultimately, we kind of came to the agreement of straight south of the school, and we would almost connect the two when it was all done. Now we actually have a meeting Friday about that, so I'm very
That's
excited about that.
exciting.
And then this morning, this is really cool that I'm meeting with you two, because this morning we had a meeting with McPherson Community Foundation, and they went over some county surveys of different things. And so it's very much intertwined
It
as
is.
far
It's
as
very intertwined,
is
yeah.
what we the data that we interpret and receive. And I don't look at data so that I can say, oh, how great we are. I look at it to see how we can improve. In both. It's nice to know that we're doing good things too. But
So you just segued into something that we want to mention. We talked at the beginning of this podcast about the conference coming up. That information that you just talked about for Moundridge, the housing study, is going to be released for the county at our housing conference.
Yep, over the lunch hour.
Yes, it is very interesting, because Chris and I have gone to a couple of those meetings, and you can't fix childcare if you can't fix the housing. And you can't bring business in unless you can fix the housing and the childcare. And it all goes together.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
all goes together. And so to think, well, we're gonna knock this out and just solve this problem, it doesn't work that way. And I think that's where people are starting to come together and realizing we all have to work together.
Yeah.
We have to bring it into an overall community
Right.
solution, not just an item.
And countywide.
Countywide.
And that's what I love about what
yes.
everybody's doing. It's countywide. We're not just helping McPherson or this
Exactly.
person or Moundridge or whoever. We're working on this together to solve some of these big issues.
Yeah.
So Joey's telling me we have to wrap this up, but wow. Thank you for coming. This has been incredible.
Yes.
I mean, what a great...
We could talk for
we
another
could be
30
here for
minutes.
days. And we might have to get off
We'll
here.
have
We'll
to
talk
bring
some
Cody
more.
back.
Yeah. Yeah.
well, I appreciate you having me, and I
Yeah.
promise you two, have learned a lot more from you two than you've learned from me.
Oh,
so
well.
appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we want to ask people to leave a review, please. And if you have somebody that you'd like us to talk to, let us know. Give us ideas.
Yeah, anybody you want to hear from or topic you want us to jabber about, we'll be happy to do that.
McPhersonHousingCoalition.org is our website.
Yep. So thanks for joining us for Housing for Good.
Thanks.